Hello and welcome to February. It's amazing to think a month of the year has already passed, but we've achieved a great deal in my garden so far. Got loads of stuff planted and growing, and things are looking pretty good. Today I'm going to concentrate on planting some seeds and a little bit more garden maintenance, but we'll catch up on that as we go. The first thing I want to show you is how some of the plants are doing that we planted in the first couple of episodes. You'll probably remember in the first episode the roses that we planted, and they are just sprouting on quite nicely. And later on we also planted some rhubarb, which is looking very healthy now. And back again in the first episode we planted our blue iris bulbs, and these are now coming through quite happily. There are a lot more plants that have been planted, and these are all growing. We've got about 200 bulbs growing at the moment, maybe 250 plants in here as it stands. And then also in that first episode, our seed potatoes or chili, they're just starting to sprout now, so another week or so and they should be in a lovely condition to put in the ground. So now we're going to plant some seeds for later this year. So here I am at the workbench in the greenhouse, and I've got some seeds all ready to plant out. First ones I'm going to do are some broad beans. I like to get some broad beans going early in the year because we get black fly on broad beans, but if you get a nice strong plant, it's the young growth that the black fly go to, so we can get a nice strong plant to go out. There won't be so much young growth and it may not encourage so much black fly. So let's have a look at how I do this. Right, so I'm just going to take my pot, load with a bit of compost. I've got myself just a few broad bean plants, seeds just to pop in. I'm going to pop those down so they're about an inch down into the ground. Just cover those with compost. We'll keep those nice and moist until we get some germination. And then later on, what I will do is I will divide those out into individual pots, and I'm going to compare how they grow against the seeds that we sow in the ground. And I'm just going to label those broad bean, and then pop them on the shelf with the other plants. Now I'm going to sow some peas, not necessarily to grow the peas as such, but for the pea shoots which we can use in salads, etc. But if they take off nicely, and they're a good early crop then. Now, the way I do my peas is slightly different because I do them as a plug. I use half of a toilet roll, just take a toilet roll centre, cut it in half, pop that into the compost so that we just fill the bottom of the plug. And I'll do that many times over to make sure that I've got enough for all of my seeds. I won't bore you by doing all of them at this moment in time. We'll just do a few here. So I get a nice base of compost in there, and then all I do is I take my pea seeds and put one per plug. And then I'll just take some more compost, overfill those. Keep those moist, and then when they have germinated and they're nice and ready, you can just take the entire plug, pop that in the ground, and you're growing your pea plant, which is a very easy way of doing things. And I like easy. I'm now going to do my first sowing of my Rudbeckia. Rudbeckia is a lovely tall golden daisy. This is Rudbeckia Marmalade, and it's a big lovely gold flower with a really dark centre, cone centre to it. And I like these to grow in clumps, so what I do is I sow a small pot. So I'll just pop my compost into here. Now, it's not the finest of seed sowing compost. It is a mixture of my own compost out of the garden and a few bits and pieces of earth and some proprietary compost as well. Rudbeckia seeds are notoriously small and you don't need many to make a clump. So I probably, in this small section on my hand, got around about 50 seeds. So I'm just going to sprinkle these ever so finely on here. And I will pop the remainder back into this packet because I've got far too many out there. I just need to get this open. Nothing ever opens easily when you want it to. And just pop those back inside there. One pack of these seeds will normally do me around about 20 to 30 pots to go out in the garden. I then just give it just a light covering. So in this pot now I've probably got around about 20 seeds. We'll hope for maybe 50 to 60% germination, which means we'll have 10 to 12, and then we'll thin out the weaker plants, so we'll have 5 or 6 plants which will grow in this pot, and then we'll plant those out into the garden. Just give those a little bit of a misting, and we'll label those up Rudbeckia Marmalade, and it's going to be lovely again, those coming up in the summer. Pop that in there. And I'll get on with planting some more.
Well, it's been a little bit too dark for me to show you the maintenance work I've been doing in the potting shed. But I've been working on sharpening the blades on the lawnmower and the shears with my sharpening stone, just to make sure that everything is in a good condition, ready for when we can actually use these tools in the garden. I've also been working on a new plan for the front garden, and I'd like to show you a little bit of that now. To me, front gardens are a very important thing, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of parterre design for the front garden, rather than so it's a boring space. It will actually have some character, and so there'll be some hedges running through. I've got a little feature in the middle of the garden anyway, and I'm going to use that and just round off the corners of the grass, maybe even take all the grass up and plant it out. I haven't quite decided yet, but that's another little plan for something that's coming up in the future. Well, once again, it's been great fun putting this together. It's wonderful to be able to plan forward and plant seeds. The most economical way of gardening is by growing from seed. However, when you buy the seeds in the store, there always seems to be too many in the packet. And you've seen me plant some seeds today, but I've actually planted quite a few more. And I've got quite a variety of seeds left over. I've got peas and beans, I've got carrots, I've got tomatoes, I've got quite a few plant flower seeds as well. And I'd like to share them with you. If you would like any seeds, I can't guarantee what type I can send you because I don't know what I'm going to have left. But just drop me an email at ayeargardening@gmail.com and I'll pop some seeds in the post to you so that we can grow together. I think that'd be great fun. Now, I wish I could have let you join me in my shed whilst I was doing some maintenance with my tools earlier. But unfortunately the light just wasn't there and I don't have power down there to use the studio lighting. So I can just tell you that I've been down there with my sharpening stone, on my lawnmower blades, on my shears, on my secateurs, a little bit of WD-40 as well, just to make sure that everything is really nice and ready for the season ahead. Because if we don't prepare our tools, they're not going to work for us. And that is so important, to make sure that your tools are in the best condition possible. And that's about it for this episode. I really, really do appreciate your company, and thank you for joining me again. And I will reiterate, I can't believe that we're in February already, but here we are. And February means one thing: a different wine. I've got a lovely Bordeaux today. So I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you again. Cheers.